Hey guys, this is Larry with Pak Masters Dog Training, and today I'm going to attempt to do a little breakdown, a little tutorial on how I condition the dog to the e-collar. The only reason I'm even doing this is because I keep receiving tons of emails and phone calls wanting to know what I'm doing, not just because I get good results with the e-collar, but I guess the main focus that people are on is they say my dogs look happy. Clients' dogs, my dogs. They say, how are you using the e-collar that they look so good so quick? Well, it's pretty simple. A lot of people use these collars incorrectly, and it's just all about correction and punishment. That's not what I do. I use it as a way of communication, and I teach it on super low levels, and I pair it with a lot of food, a lot of reward. Several days, sometimes weeks of e-collar and reward together nonstop. I didn't create this system. I didn't come up with a new way to train. My ego's not that big. I've just learned from some of the best out there. So I've taken the time, I've spent the money. A couple of my mentors that I look up to, and a couple of the best trainers in the world, are Michael Ellis and Bart Balone. I've learned so much from these two, and Ivan Balabanoff also. These are the three guys. If you have the time, you have the money, get out there and go work with them, because they're the three of the best there are anywhere in the world, and you won't be disappointed. So I've driven the 14 hours each way and spent money and flown to San Francisco to work with Michael, and these guys are all really fantastic. So do yourself a favor and do that. But all right, I'll get off that now. I just like to give credit where credit's due, and I didn't come up with this. They've just made me a much better trainer. Okay, so I'm going to talk about when I get a dog to my home for a board and train. Exactly what I do. Step one, all the way to the end. Nothing fancy, not exciting. This is going to be boring. So the only reason I'm doing it is because a bunch of you have asked me for it. And they didn't want to see a dog. They didn't want demonstrations because that's already done. So just a step-by-step tutorial of what I do. And I think you might be a little surprised on how boring it is, but here it goes. Okay, day one, I get the dog. There's no e-collar on, no nothing. I put a leash on the dog, and we just start building that relationship. Hang out with the dog, a little bit of moving here and there. There's no talking, there's no commands. I work a lot at the doorways, just having the dog hang out with me, start to respect that space. You know, I don't want them jumping on me. I don't want them bolting out the door. So right away, I work at the doorways a lot, showing the dog, you wait for me. I don't give commands. I don't talk. It's just all about him reading me and me reading him. And so I do the doorway stuff, and I start the luring and the marking. So with food, I teach him how to follow, follow, follow. And right before he gets it, I use a marker word. I say yes. So he follows the food. I say yes, reward. Follow the food, yes, reward. That's all I'm doing. And I'm doing a lot of repetitions to teach him what the marker word is and teaching him how to go into different positions. That's day one. That's it. I do that several times a day. Day two, a lot of times here's where I'll put the e-collar on. But I still go back to working at the doorways, and I do a lot of luring and marking still. But now I start luring him into specific positions like sit and down and heel. But I'm doing it with the luring and the marking all together. Then usually by the end of day two is where we'll start the e-collar work, okay? So this is exactly how it starts. I put the dog on a 15-foot line. Got to have a long line. I don't like anything more than 15 feet because a lot of times it gets in the way and gets tangled up. And you don't want anything shorter because you want the dog to be able to get away from you a little, okay? So that's what I do. I put the dog on the line, never attach it to the e-collar. Always goes to a regular collar, okay? So I wait till the dog's not paying attention. We're in a relaxed state. There's no rush here. I have food on me. The dog hasn't eaten yet. I start looking for the dog's level. I start at a 0. I start tapping, and I keep going up until he gives me some sort of sign that he feels it. So as soon as he feels it, the lowest level possible, that's my working level for that moment. And I do this in an area where there's no distractions. So we're going to teach it first around an area where there's no distractions. I do it in my yard. It's grass, but it's even better if you could do it on pavement somewhere where there's not a lot of scent and everything. Okay, so now I have the dog's working level. I have a treat in my hand, I have the collar, and I'm relaxing. The dog's moving around, and I'll use Bruno for an example. Okay, I just use his name. And what I do is I say, Bruno, come. Right after I give the command come, I give a little tug on the line and I tap the e-collar. Okay, you can use the nick button or continuous here, it doesn't matter. Okay, but it's just a tap. So it's Bruno, come, then a little tug and a tap. The second that dog turns to come my way, not when he gets to me or when he's halfway there, the second he comes to head the right direction, I say yes. Now from the luring and the marking, he knows that yes means something good. Okay, so they come usually pretty quick. Okay, gets the reward. I praise him, that's it. And we take our time between repetitions. There's no rush, okay? So again, once he's walking away and he's not paying attention, I say, Bruno, come. Tap with a little pull on the leash. The second he turns my way, yes, reward. Okay, that's how we do that. That's how we start. And I'll do that for maybe 5 minutes. That's it. Real simple, and then we'll play. We'll go about whatever we're doing, or I'll put them away to let them rest for a while. That's how we do that. 5 minutes, very simple, okay? Now what I'll do when I take them out the next time, okay, now we're going to use it with more of a continuous type collar. We're going to teach both ways. So now using the continuous button, I go out to the same way we started before. I have him on the long line, I have the food, he's not paying attention. Now I press the continuous button this time before the command. So I press it down, the collar's going, I say, Bruno, come. The second he turns my way, I release the pressure from the e-collar. I say, yes, reward. Okay, so this time we're going to spend 5 minutes saying, press the button down, Bruno, come. The second he turns my way, we release the button, we say, yes, reward. Okay, so before it was the collar after the command. This time we're using it as a continuous button before the command. Okay, we teach them both ways. Like I said, I didn't create this system. This was created by better people out there than me. But I've used it every way possible, and I've been using the e-collar for many years. And I'm telling you, this is the way I've gotten the best results. There's no downtime where the dog is down and confused. This teaches them exactly how it needs to be done. And so 5 minutes, I do that again. Then we go about our regular business. And I do this for a couple of days, back and forth, taking turns between just using it as a tap after the command or holding it down as a continuous button before the command. A couple of days, that's it. One of the biggest mistakes people make, say I'm doing an in-home lesson for a client. I go work with them one day. I give the client something to do all week long. I'll call during the week, and I'll say, hey, how's the dog doing? They say, oh, they're doing great. They're coming to me every time off leash, and I'm not even using the collar. That's a mistake, okay? In the beginning, you want to use this collar every single time, because if you don't, then you're just using it the way most people use it, and that's you're only using it when the dog's not doing what you want. Then it's all correction and punishment, and it becomes a negative thing. So you teach it using it every single time. Every time. You're not going to stop using it for at least several days every time. And then we go to the next step, and that's the intermittent stage. This may be the most important part of it. What I mean by the intermittent stage is we're doing all the same stuff we did in the first day or two, or 3, or even a week. It depends on the dog. But now we're not using the collar and rewards every single time. Now we're doing it every other time. Every third time we give a command. So sometimes I'm saying, Bruno, come, and there's no e-collar, and I'm still rewarding. You know, sometimes I'm not rewarding. Every fourth time I'm using the collar. You're not keeping it on a consistent basis. You're switching it up. You're moving it around. Sometimes he gets it. Sometimes he's not getting it. This is an important part because, let's face it, in the long run, you want the dog to be able to pay attention to the verbal command, not the e-collar. So in the beginning, we're using it every time you give the command. Then after a week or 2 or 3, whatever, we're using it intermittently. This is where we start weaning the dog off of it. So, you know, in the end, the collar is there when you go off in public and your dog's off leash, just in case you need to use it. Okay, that's what it's there for. And then they understand it correctly. And when you teach it long enough, think of it as the dog's learning a whole new language. You can't just use it for a day or 2 and then stop and then use it to correct the dog or punish the dog when he's not doing. It's like me or you learning a new language. you have to be immersed in it, and you have to use it over and over, teaching the dog what this weird feeling up here means. And then down the road, if you do need to use it in an emergency situation, say your dog's about to run in the street after a car, then you could use it at the highest levels you have to really stop the dog in his tracks. And there's not going to be any adverse effects or any negative effects to the dog. You'll go right back down to the low levels and continue to train as you did in the beginning. I have a couple of collars here. This is a Dogtra 280. I've used Dogtra for a long time, and here's an Einstein. Einstein's a fairly new collar that came out, and I like both of these collars a lot. This is a Einstein 300. I've been very, very happy with them so far, and I've never had a problem with Dogtra. Dogtra makes a real quality collar. Don't go to a pet store and buy some cheap collar brand. Go directly to the companies and buy a good quality collar, a Dogtra, an Einstein, a Tritronic, Sport Dog. These are all good companies and make quality collars. Don't try to save money because you'll be wasting your time. Plus, these collars are extremely adjustable. So I deal with mostly pet quality dogs, not working dogs. I do a lot of working dogs, but I do more pet quality dogs. And if you notice here, I have 2 receivers on both. Now, a lot of people think that's for more power or to make it stronger. That's not why I use it. The reason I use this is one of the biggest problems with e-collar training is the collar not making good contact on the dog. So when you add the double receiver, you have one on each side. For one, it distributes the stimulation evenly. You won't see a lot of head twitching or anything. But for another, it's easier to make good contact, usually on both sides, because even if the collar gets pulled one way or another, one of them's always going to be making contact. So this is very beneficial there. It's a little more money, but it's well worth it because it gives your dog a lot more comfort, and you don't have to put the collar as tight also. Couple of other tips. You want to make sure the collar is tight and fit enough. A lot of people leave it way too loose, and it's not going to make good contact. Okay, keep the dog's neck brushed real good. The dead hair also will stop it from making good contact. And what happens when it's not making good contact is people will look at the dog and the dog's not reacting. So they keep going up in levels. Put the collar higher, higher, higher. Then all of a sudden the dog moves a certain way and the collar makes contact, and you hit the dog at a level much higher than needs to be. So that's not good. You want to make sure the collar's tight and fit enough and you're making good contact. If your dog has real long hair, you want to use longer contact points, but you got to make good contact on there, And most importantly, this is just a tool. This isn't going to make you a good dog trainer. This isn't going to make your dog a better dog. What it does is it gives your dog more freedom, where you could take your dog out with you a lot more and get rid of the leash and let your dog really have a better life. But I preach to everyone that I work with. There's 2 sides of dog training. There's obedience and there's the behavior. This part goes to the obedience side. We use this in obedience. But maybe that's 20% of the equation. Obedience is easy. We could teach a dog anything. What's really important is most of the calls I get is because there's a lot of problem dogs out there. I deal with a lot of aggression, and that's the behavior side. So you got to really... you got to learn what makes the dog tick. You got to learn about how a dog's mind works. That's the important side of dog training. In the videos where you see me working with aggressive dogs, you'll see an e-collar on the dog. That's not to treat the aggression. I do not use the e-collar to work on aggression. I don't punish correction. I don't make corrections with an e-collar when a dog's acting aggressive. But any aggressive dog I work with, I'm still working the obedience side also, and that's where I use the e-collar. I get people making comments on one video in particular, working with a very aggressive dog, and they always think that you're shocking the dog or stimming the dog when the dog gets aggressive. That's not what happens. That will only make it worse. But you definitely want to go to someone and learn the proper way to use this. But I hope I helped you a little bit here. And all dogs are different, so you're going to run into different problems, but we can't talk about everything. So I hope this hope it helps you a little bit there. Okay, thank you.